Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Syukri Hamdan Hidayatullah and my student ID number is 2320064. In this video, I will retell an article. The title is The Importance of Teaching Academic Reading Skills in First Year's University Courses by Julian Hermida. The first is in the abstract. I get the information that the paper discusses the needs of teachers to teach appropriate reading strategies to help students use an immersive approach to reading academic texts. And it can be seen that the research study participants were taken from the first year of college at legal studies course. And based on the aim of the study was to evaluate students' approaches to reading by assessing the quality of their learning outcomes. Achieving success at university level usually depends on basic academic skills such as reading, writing, critical thinking, oral presentation, and media literacy. Lecturers who rarely come in generally assume that all students have acquired these skills, but the reality is that most of the first year students lack academic reading skills, mainly because reading at university level is very different from reading at high school. And about the surface and deep approaches to reading, students who take a surface approach to reading usually regard the information as isolated and unrelated facts, and the impact leads to shallow retention of the material for inspection and doesn't promote understanding long-term retention of knowledge and information. The deep reader focuses on the author message, on the ideas he is trying to convey, the sentence of the argument, and the structure of argument, which means surface. The reader focuses on the second, the text itself, while the in-depth reader focuses on the what is marked, that is the meaning of the text. Research studies show that most of today's college students take surface approach to reading and learning. This phenomenon occurs because the teacher usually lectures the text and evaluates its student on their retention of fact and principle presented in lectures. And about the study, the aim of the project is to evaluate whether my students based on the reports received. That while reading the text, some students only identify some isolated facts mentioned in the text, which they believe the researchers will ask during the interview and then remember the facts. The student can make anything connection between this fact and fail to see any connection with those facts reality. The reading takes place in the university library, and the research explained to the student that they can consult books, journals, and database available in the library. To supplement a second reading, take a deep or surface approach to reading, and the final goal of the author is to assess the quality of their learning outcomes, because the reading approach is considered directly proportional to the quality of their learning outcomes. There, the researcher asked the student to read an article written by a professor of education on some proposed university reform in Sweden. After reading, the student will ask some question about the text. In the end, only two students consult another text to understand the second article, and only one student read another article by the same author to get his ideological idea. After the first part of this research, the author introduced a series of strategies to teach their students how to read academic texts, and the author designed a series of the student-centered reading activities. and discuss below that they do throughout the time frame at the end of the semester. The author asks his student to read another short paper on legal studies of the same complexity. The result is very stimulating. Now the majority of students take in-depth approach to read. They are able to contextualize the author's argument. They successfully identify and assess the evidence used to support arguments, and they consider the policy implication and social consequences of proposal argument. And the next is about reading academic texts. Reading is a process that is partly shaped by the text, partly by the background reading process, and partly by the situation where the reading occurs. Reading academic text doesn't only involve finding information in the text itself, rather, it is a process of working with text. The reader negotiates meaning with the writer by applying their prior knowledge to it. But this process is only possible if the reader uses a series of analytical categories, some of which are specific to each academic discipline. There are therefore working with text and recreating their meaning requires both specialized and non-discipline strategies. Expert readers have included these categories and apply them almost intuitively. And the next is about categories of analysis. Common categories of analysis for interacting with academic texts include the first is the purpose of reading, the context, author's thesis, the contraction of assumption, evaluation of the author argument, and the last one is the consequences of the author's argument. Academic texts with a specific purpose, for example, to get ideas about activities that promote the learning. And the next in the constructive alignment, in harmonious teaching, there is maximum consistency. The entire system and each component support the others. There are two basic premises for constructive alignment. The first is teachers align plan learning activities with learning outcome and assessment, and the second is a student construct meaning from what they do to learn. So promote an immersive reading approach. Teachers need to design a course whose primary goal and learning outcome is to encourage students to take in depth approach to reading and learning and to use higher order cognitive and metacognitive skills to understand, process academic text, and to negotiate meaning with academic text writer. It is important for us as teachers to make these goals and learning explicit result for our students, as most students tend to only look at facts and principles as the only content of the course. And about the example teaching and learning activities that foster a deep approach to reading. In the legal studies course, in addition to explicitly teaching students how to read academic texts, in a synchronous course, the author plays some the games they are familiar with, the Amazing Race, where students in teams had to run class to the library, then to the office, then to the computer lab, and then back to the class. At each of these stops, they had to analyze academic texts and answer some question. Another activity that the research used in the first year's legal studies course is intern. Writer tells student apprentice executive procedures and confident him to do apprentice indicates where the team should read some article and books to deliver presentation on certain legal science topics. And the last is in the conclusion section. Uh, The research re-explain research studies on reading and learning in post-secondary education show that most university students today adopt a surface approach to reading and learning. Then the researchers think that the research tries to explain this phenomenon by focuses on student attitudes, activities, and skills. Research studies presented in the paper also shows that when teachers design aligned courses that place academic reading at the forefront of the course, where selected classroom activities encourage students to use higher order cognitive skills. And maybe that's all can I explain about the article. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.